Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 13th July 2017. The first article, India China trade talks deadlocked. This article is about the trade deficit which India holds with China. So, India believes that the trade deficit is due to limited market access India enjoys with regard to services in the Chinese economy. On this, the trade talks are being deadlocked. It is expected amidst of the heightened tensions between the countries. The five-judge bench to hear other pleas. Here there are two important points we need to remember. There is one is MP Singh case, the other is Kehar Singh case. In both these cases, the Supreme Court held that Article 21 consists of right to privacy, but this is not an absolute right. It is subjected to the reasonable restrictions. That's what the Supreme Court stated. And second is Justice Chalameshwar. He has asked an important question. That is, are the rights are exchangeable to the economic needs? It means the people who are dependent on the government for their welfare, the government can they take their rights for granted? This is what is the question posed by the Justice Chalameshwar. Now, let's go to the editorial page. Game of chicken in the high Himalayas. It is about the ongoing standoff between India and China at the Tri-Junction at Doklam Plateau. So in this standoff is very much different when compared to the previous standoffs because of two reasons. The area which is being considered in the standoff is relatively peaceful and concluded as settled. And second is, India is not directly involved in this standoff, or the area which is under dispute is related to a dispute between Bhutan and China, and it is not in dispute between India and China. It means a third country is also involved over here. And because of the agreement India-Bhutan holds in 2007, India has come to the rescue of the Bhutan. Now, if you see the Chinese dimension, they talk it from the perspective of the sovereignty, and India talks it from the security dimension. So India wants to maintain the status quo in the region for the reason that it provides access to Chicken Neck Corridor, the Siliguri Corridor in India, which connects northeast with the mainland. And further to this, there are geopolitics which are also been involved. We can see this from two dimensions. One is unsettled border dispute between India and China, China's sensitivities in Tibet, and Indian Chief Minister from Arunachal Pradesh and his recent comments on the Tibet. That is one bilateral perspective. And if you see from global geopolitics, the things are different. Now, China has border disputes with most of the countries. Japan and United States of America, these are playing an important role with regard to the Chinese border disputes are concerned. But once Mr. Trump has come up, relatively it is settled with United States. The Trump has decreased, or United States has decreased its stress on the South China Sea and the issue. And on the other side, the relations with Japan also have become peaceful. So, it has got a complex interdependence of economies between China, USA and Japan. So, it makes the China emboldened to have a conflict with India. And second is, China, or else the escalation of the conflict is not good either for China or for India for the following reasons. Now, India, growing economy, it's going to get derailed. With regard to China, its One Belt, One Road initiative will not get the sufficient support among the countries in the region if the conflict gets escalated. And China will be seen more as a hegemonic power in the region, and the small countries will become much worried about the presence of China. And most of the small countries in this peninsula, in this subcontinent, they are dual route diplomacy they are practicing. They want to maintain cultural and friendly relations with India, but economic relations with China. So that's why they want to maintain relationship and distance from both the countries. So if China takes any aggressive stand, its rise in power as an international global remarkable entity is going to get damaged. And coming to India, So India is a fast developing country, economy gets derailed. And second, India is going to open two hostile fronts. One is on the west, that is Pakistan. On the east, it is China. So India cannot afford to have two hostile fronts. That is what is the case. Don't fly into the same storm. So Vajpayee government has created a disinvestment ministry, and Air India proposal went before it. And Mr. Arun Chaudhary was the head of the Department of Disinvestment. So the disinvestment did not move forward as expected. What were the reason? In spite of disinvestment, the first is the government don't want to disinvest completely. In spite of the disinvestment, government wants to have a majority stake in the managerial control. So for any foreign investor to come into India, he is supposed to have an Indian partner. So these are the conditions. Remember, without government moving out completely from Air India, the managerial ills of the public sector will not get rid over. And second is, the international players like Lufthansa, Emirates, who have successful business, successful track record, they shall be given the level playing field among with the domestic players so that the competition is bound to increase. To the possible extent, government shall not involve in any of the management related to Air India, then only the prospects of disinvestment will be better. And sorrowful song, it is about floods to Brahmaputra. These floods are an annual event. The major reason is the Brahmaputra, it changes the course and also it carries heavy sediments with it. It is the second largest sediment carrying river per unit area. So in this, the river bed is going to be much higher than the floodplain, and Kaziranga National Park, all these are getting into sludge. So in this context, a long-term comprehensive solution is necessary rather than a rescue effort which is made in the short term. That is what this article emphasizes on. Now, this Aryan migration debate, if any anthropology student is there, they can talk about this, they can make an emphasis on this. But I am going through Oceanic Games, it is about Malabar exercises. You know that the Malabar exercises, India, Japan and United States navies are participating, and China sees it as a counter force developing against it to contain its growing power. So Australia also interested to join the same. So Mr. Shinzo Abe has provided or recommended for a democratic access against the rising China with the USA, India, Japan and Australia. So this quadrant is it developing, that is what is the concern of the China. So why these countries are doing this? To develop interoperability and communication across the navies. Now, if you come to the news page, India-China trade talks are blocked, and already we have discussed this. Now coming to Bitcoin, to ban or not to ban. So the Bitcoins are the cryptocurrency, and these Bitcoins are being used to demand the ransomware and also for various cyber crimes related to drug trafficking, etc. So, in India, how the Bitcoin has to be managed? If you take the Western countries, many of the countries, they regard it as a property and impose the capital gains tax. So, does India need to ban it completely or regulate it? So, regulating of the cryptocurrency provides a better understanding and evolution of these currencies. India also shall treat it as a property and shall impose the necessary capital gains tax, etc. on this bitcoins. That's what has been stated. If you go to Australia or Japan, so the secrecy surrounding the bitcoin transfers is not expected. India also shall not allow the secrecy of transactions using the bitcoin. So that's why KYC, know your client norms, have to be strictly implemented even among cryptocurrencies. And then coming to the news page further. So, a still counting band note deposits, that is what is the RBI Governor Urjit Patel has told to Standing Committee of Parliament on Finance. So, it means that the impact of the demonetization, how big the impact is, it is still not made known to the people. And then there is a long game in Kabul, that is what is the says experts. It is about engagement with regard to the Kabul, just go through that. And then let's go to the world page. China sends PLA unit to overseas base. Where this overseas base is existing, it is in Djibouti on the Horn of Africa. And it is the first overseas base of China, and it is at the strategic location. China says it is meant for logistical and resting purpose, not for military purpose. And China is also developing the Gwadar port as part of China-Pakistan economic corridor. It will be the second overseas base for China. An ex-Brazil president guilty of corruption. In my classes when I was talking to you, I have explained to you about Bolsa Familia, a welfare program which is the foundation or base for the cash transfer schemes. These are actually launched by Lula da Silva, and the President Lula is also been charged with corruption in Brazil. So you know that the President Dilma Rousseff and then the present President and Lula, everyone are being charged with corruption. Already the economy in crisis, the political crisis is adding to the economic crisis in Brazil. And then let's go to the business page. The CPI inflation slows down. The index of industrial production also has come down to 1.72%. So it means we need to reboot the economy, and monetary policy has to be eased to provide for greater access to capital. That is what is Mr. Economic Advisor Mr. Subramanian is talking about. And then Reliance Jio admits to systems breach. So obviously, more and more telecom sector giants are using the Chinese equipment. Is it leading or is it making them susceptible? That is what is the question. And finally, I gave you the notes over here. It will be available to you at laix.in/civilsprep. Thank you very much and all the best.